So I guess first things first. We've been hearing a lot about these young backers stepping up with the depth of this group. Like, how are the guys behind Zay, Tyler, and those guys kind of getting adjusted and finding their role?
Good, good. I like the growth that we've had. That's been consistent. Um, and just different schemes that they've seen. And the biggest thing is they've gotten out there and they've made their mistakes, and they've seen them, they've corrected them. That for all young players, that's what I always tell them. Find a mistake every day. Find something you don't know every day. And the best way to find that is play as hard as you can, and then you see it on tape and you get it fixed. The good thing about these young players is, they're not making mistakes twice. Not making the same. They're finding a new one, and they find a new one. And, the growth is just, it's so much faster that way. It's just so much faster. And I've been really proud of all of them. They've done a really good job.
And we talked about Zay's leadership from the spring until now. Mm-hmm. How is that showing up at this point now as we're getting close to the game one and guys are starting to, when he's talking, guys are starting to listen more as it gets closer to the season?
Yeah, but I'm never going to change my tone about Zay. They follow him because of the way he plays. He can say whatever he wants to, but it's how he plays. They follow him because of that. Yes, he does speak up. He's always spoke up. People hadn't, maybe you didn't hear him as much, but he's always talked. But the thing that makes him such a great leader is just how he plays, and just how he plays the game. I've said it before, right? He has fun. This game is supposed to be fun, and when you watch him play, it makes it look fun.
When you've got an athlete who's as seasoned as he is, how do you go about coaching him, just making sure he's getting better, knowing that he's had so many, so many years under his belt at this point?
I look at it as different levels. Like it's like being a teacher. There's different level teachers. They hit different levels, and just like a player, they hit different levels. Well, it doesn't matter what level you're at. You're never going to stop learning. It's no different for what I talked about the young guys. Like, go out there and play as fast as you can, and maybe you find a formation. Maybe you find a way a guard's in a stance. Maybe you find the way the running back's in a stance. You find something that makes you a master of your position. And you got to find those one things, and we're finding them every day. Every day off the tape, we're finding something new that makes their game better. But also, you're also trying to build these guys to whoever they play beside. You got to build that chemistry, because it doesn't matter. And I've said that stuff before. Like, you might be the best linebacker, but if you're not the best one beside this guy, I got to make some changes. It's just a whole chemistry fit of how it's got to work.
And so we talked about the chemistry with those three guys. Tyler specifically, knowing that he's got years on his belt, but this is his first year. How do you use a veteran like that, but with this being his first year, how does that he's new to the program, but he's not new to the sport?
Well, I look at it the same way. I don't like every player. It doesn't matter who it is. They all have different personalities. Well, different personalities, different learning abilities, different tactics, like different strengths, different weaknesses. During camp for me, it's like I'm trying to point out all the major weaknesses that I see from a player. And it might not be a huge one, but that's what we're working on. Maybe it's just how you place your hands in a block destruction, or just a tackling technique or something. I'm trying to find something to make them get better at something they're not as good at. Now, obviously, the things that they're very, very talented at, we're trying to keep those things polished as well. But, every player, I look at it different. It's not the same. Every player in my room is completely different. The way they learn, the way they run, the way they do everything is different. So I have to teach them in different ways.
As a group, with being a couple of weeks away from opening kickoff, how do you feel about your group as a whole at this point?
Love this group. They show up and they want to work every day. They show up and they want to work, and the commitment to the competition is unbelievable. And it was last year with JJ and those guys. I've loved every minute of it, because the guys that come to work here at Memphis, they come to work, and if you're not, you fall off quick and you don't have a chance. I love that about this group.
So what's different about this defense in the sense that we heard Silverfield tell us that it's a different fit for this personnel, and so how do you see this working out differently using the guys in, say, the previous 2 years? If there is anything you notice.
No, nothing big. At the end of the day, you got to be really good at getting off blocks, and you got to be really good at tackling. The schemes and the leverages and all those things, but at the end of the day, you got to be really good at defeating blocks, and you got to be really good at tackling. It's no different than it was last year. We have to find a way to get to the ball. We have to find a way to get the ball out. That's what the nuts and bolts of it comes down to. Now the schematics and stuff, there's some different things that they had to learn, but at the end of the day, it's football. It's what they grew up loving. It's what they grew up having fun doing. So That's my answer to that.
Is it any different though? I mean, he is playing football, but there are different ways of playing football.
No doubt, there's different schemes, but at the end of the day, are you a good tackler and can you get off a block? And do you know where your leverage is? You know that football to me that's how simple it is. And depending on do I know where my leverage is? Can I get off a block and can I tackle correctly? Those things. Now you sort of fit the pieces into it. You know what I'm saying? You just got to know. Beside my guy, do I have his back? Am I on the correct leverage side? Am I doing things the right way? I simplify it for those guys so they can play fast, and I find the different answers to make it very simple.
How's Jeff coming along? Obviously, he could still get more used to the systems like Tyler, but how is his level of teaching and growth coming in with his experience?
Good. It's it's been really good with him and Sincere, honestly. Sincere Evans he's showed up all through camp. He's made plays every day, and he's another one like in that room that's going to be a difference maker as the season goes through. He is.
Tell me more about Sincere, because obviously he's a local guy, he's friendly, but what is it about now that you're seeing him out here this year, what's maybe making him that difference from last year?
To me, Sincere has a very high football IQ. Very high football IQ. He can understand formations. He can put himself in good position. He's got very clean feet. He can make plays at the ball. But he's just very high football IQ. Like he don't make a whole lot of mistakes, and he definitely doesn't make them twice. It's just that is his major advantage.
Tell us about Andrew Jones. I know last year he was redshirted the year before as a part of that class.
Yeah.
He was highest ranked recruit, I think, for
Yeah.
that class.
Yeah.
How has his progression been?
Learning, and the strides he has made the strides he's made from spring to now, probably better than anybody in that room. From a mental standpoint, obviously he's got the playmaking ability. He's got that. Another thing too, he's put some weight on. He's gotten a little bit bigger. He's gotten used to the speed of a college football. He's not the fastest person on the field anymore like he was as a high school recruit, but he's starting to figure it out, the mental part of it, which is so huge, and how to study the game and how to not be in bad positions. So he's done a really good job of growing, and I see him in a position to contribute as well.
I wanted to ask you about that a little bit, the mental side of things. I've talked to a lot of players this offseason, and to a person, every one of them has talked about the mental growth that they've experienced. Obviously, losing JJ was a huge hit to the defense last year. The maturity, the veteran experience that he brought, the mental maturity that he brought to the game. How have you guys concentrated on that in your room, especially bringing in Tyler, bringing in Jeff, with Zay, everybody? Like, how important is that mental maturity?
Well, and I think too, like it's not just the coach. Like to me, it's the room. It's the sort of the character of the room makes that even, because I'll go in the position room sometimes and there will be 4 upperclassmen sitting there with 3 freshmen, and they're all they're doing is talking, and the freshmen are just listening. How I did, same way JJ did last year. JJ would sit in there for all hours in the night and watch it, and all these young guys would go in there and sit down, and they would just watch him and how he studied and how he does those things. And I've got upperclassmen doing the same thing right now. Which your first question about the younger linemen, that's where the growth comes from. They see those other guys, because if I'm having to call them and tell them to do it, they're not ever going to be at that correct speed as far as mental growth goes. But to me, it's just the character of that room. You have to continue blossoming that character.
When you saw, my last question for you,
Yeah.
when you saw as you're trying to fill in those gaps through the transfer portal, fill in your linebacker room, what was it about Jeff and Tyler that you saw that you were like, these are the guys we're going to target?
Just my thing is, like, you got to find the guys with the right personality, the right character traits. How coachable are you? Especially, you got a time crunch. You're getting turned around with a guy that has 2 years and a guy that has 1. Like, how coachable are they? How fast can they learn those things? So, like, I watched the tape. They can play ball. To me, at that point, it's about the fit. Okay, how do they fit in with Zay? How do they fit? How do they fit in with the whole program? Can they handle this work? Are they smart enough to pick it up that fast and then train my younger guys? You know what I'm saying? So, and both of them hit it out of the park. Yeah, I've got one of the there's 4 GAs on our defensive side that work every day. TJ Jefferson, Eli Haggard, John Stronero, and Tyra Coney. And we're on like day 13 of camp. I just like to mention those guys because they sleep here and they work their tail off every day. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.